You are listening to the audiobook version of The Resplendent Window, Volume 1 by D. Grant Smith. Hey, that's me, which means narrated by author. Here is Section 1, Animal Farm. Insights into this section of stories. This first series of tales all involve animals in a metaphoric and illustrative way to begin our exploration into consciousness, the heart, and the soul. Truthfully, I wanted to write a little mini anthology and name it Animal Farm just for kicks, but I'll settle for naming this section that instead. Animals can be a great reflection of different aspects of life, particularly involving frequency and vibration. It's a different way to look at neuroscience and quantum physics, and you'll definitely understand that part more deeply when you read the second story, A Party of Bees. Gigantic Epiphanies builds on that by bringing an element of conscious creation into the mix, while also addressing the role that fear can play in our lives when we don't address it head on, or actually heart on, but you'll get there. A Place Within might be my favorite tale in this section because it's so rich with character development and reads like something Neville Goddard would have written had he been a fiction writer. The power of prayer and faith are very much a part of that story, but there's also an interesting challenge in it for you to reevaluate how you use both prayer and faith, as well as how you see your connection with God. Remember what you're made of. Starting off is a story that was one of the first I ever wrote in this expansive spiritual and life lesson capacity. And it's the best place to begin for us as we look through the resplendent window to see a world and a life we have not been aware of until now that we're actually living in. And the first story is titled, We Don't Know What We Don't Know. The sun's light above me shines for part of the day. It's not always there, but it does help me see and follow my family around. We tend to go in a certain direction and back every day. The plants around us respond when we come by. Some are friendly and come out to welcome us. Others close up and hide themselves. I don't know why. Maybe we're a bit overwhelming to them because there's so much traffic moving about. It's not just my family that travels with us. There are all sorts of us moving about with different sizes and textures of our bodies. We all look very similar, or at least that's what it seems like to me. For a while, my childhood and adolescence, I thought we were all in the same family. Then one of our teachers and elders taught us a few years ago that we're not all the same, even if we have similar shapes. But we're all at home here, so we accept everyone as they are. Even the plants and smaller creatures that hide when we come around? I asked the teachers. Yes, even them. Some things will always fear what they don't know or aren't used to. Everyone deserves respect and honor, my teacher instructed us. So, that's what I do. When the path is clear, we move around freely. When it's darker, we have to try harder to use our senses to know where to go. And usually we just drift down and find a place to be still. One day, I was feeling especially curious about life and about myself. I decided to break the pattern I was traveling in and move up higher, where I saw these creatures with colorful strings on them. I was entranced. They were so beautiful and enchanting. A few of my siblings and friends saw me drift up and decided to follow me. No one told me not to get out of line. I got up above the line where I had always been and looked around. It was like I could see a whole new world for the first time. Everything was much brighter than I'd ever seen before. I looked down and saw all my family and friends dancing around in these long streams and lines. Below them was what seemed like eternal darkness. And all around me in this new space were these creatures of different shapes and sizes. I looked up and saw some other creatures I'd never seen before. They seemed to be hovering and moving slowly across the top of the sky. The sun shone brighter than it had before, and these mysterious creatures seemed so strange, moving right up into the sun and passing through it, then moving on. How could that be? I wondered. I had always believed that the sun was an infinite distance away, and it was the all powerful light that made the whole world have life. How could something touch such power and still exist without imploding? There was shouting below me, and my friends were scurrying to get back in line in the flow of traffic of our kind, moving throughout the area below me. We're supposed to stay in our specific place most of the time. We can't explore an area that we're in only at certain times, and usually when our elders say it's okay. I don't know why I broke the rules today. I wasn't thinking about it. All of this curiosity had been building for a long time. I guess I just let myself try something new without overthinking the reasons not to. I hurried back and got in line with my friends. The crowd kept moving. We all just follow each other, copying whatever is done by whoever is in front of us. When we slowed down and got to a resting place, I awaited the discipline and chastisement that I knew was coming from the teachers, elders, and my family. But no one said anything. Had they not noticed me being gone for part of the day? How long had I been gone? And if they didn't notice my absence in the daylight, how would they know if I snuck off at night? They might not sense my presence close by, or they might call my name and I wouldn't be there to answer. But if I stayed close enough to hear them, then I could get back real fast and pretend that I hadn't heard them and they'd never know that I had left. I was so curious about what I witnessed today, I had to find out more. I could see the light of the moon in the nighttime. For the longest time, I thought that the sun and the moon were the same thing, just that the moon was softer in its light. But my teacher told us that they're different, but she hadn't said or taught us how they're different. As I reflected on that, and as I reflected on what I had seen today, I thought that if a creature above us can pass through the sun, they must be friends with the sun. What if I could drift up to the moon that is shown above us and touch it too? Then I could know all things and have answers to all these mysteries that seem to beckon my endless curiosity. The thought was too tantalizing to avoid. I had to try it. Everything was quiet around me. Maybe everyone was sleeping. Now was my chance. I darted upwards, avoiding the bodies of others sleeping around and above me. I saw the dim light over my head. It seemed close enough to reach. I had to go for it. I climbed higher and higher. I lost track of how far I had traveled and how much further it was to go to reach my goal. There was one objective I had: touch the moon and know all there is to know. The sky began to shimmer and move the closer I got to it. Then I reached up into the sky and I eclipsed it. I looked up to reach the moon and found an even more wild and completely different thing than I had thought. There was a second world up above where I had lived my whole life. All this space between the new world and the moon existed that I never knew or imagined. How is that even possible? How could these creatures that I'd seen earlier in the day touch the sun and move through it? Were they angels or divine beings? I hadn't listened very closely to the lessons that our teachers had given us on religion and spirituality. Maybe I should pay more attention now. But could I tell them what I had now seen? Would they even believe me? "What are you doing up here?" this majestic creature asked as it descended down towards me. It had these long, stranded fins that came from its sides and seemed to give it powers to move around in this second world above the one I lived in. I I was curious about the moon. I thought I could touch it and know all things, I replied. I felt a shortness of breath and suddenly found it hard to breathe. I ducked down to try and breathe again and found that I could easily. I'd have to repeat this again and again for the next phase of the night. When I was up above my world and in the openness, everything was expansive and different. You fish have the strangest beliefs. No one can touch the moon. It's way out in space. I can fly really high, but if I tried to get up above the clouds and go to the moon, I'd die. What gave you the idea to come up to the surface and out of the water anyway? The creature asked. I now had so many new questions. I couldn't answer this creature's questions for me. First, what is a fish? Is that what I am? I didn't know. What does that even mean? And how can no one touch the moon if I'd watched something touch the almighty sun earlier today? What did it mean by clouds? What are those? What did it mean by flying up to touch them? Is flying what this creature was doing in the open space before it came down to be with me? I had even more questions. What kind of creature had I seen earlier that had touched the sun? Was I now in heaven? And had I seen God earlier? What is the ocean that this flying creature mentioned that I was in? All these new mysteries were opening up to me now. I had come here to find answers to just one mystery, but getting a little closer to finding it out had created a multitude of more questions. What are you? I managed to ask for my response. My name is Maggie, the creature replied, and I'm a puffin. Usually when I see a fish like you, I think it's time to eat. But I already did that tonight, and you're far too big of a fish for me. Plus, you didn't swim away when you saw me. So I got curious and decided to come down here to see what you're all about. You've never come up to the surface before, have you? Maggie asked. She spoke quickly and was a little hard to follow, aside from the fact that she kept using terms and words that I'd never heard before. No, I don't know what the surface is, I said as I tucked myself a little lower again to get another breath. We're not supposed to come up here. I'd never been so close to this area before. We stay in the space of light in our world. Up above is what I thought was the sky, where the sun and moon live. Below is the eternal darkness. I've wondered what lives down there too, but there's no way to see down there in the day or nighttime. It seemed too dangerous to try and find out. Today I watched this creature move into the sun, or at least that's what it looked like from down below where I was looking up to here, I said, trying to explain myself to my new friend. Maggie looked at me quizzically for a moment, as if I was also using words that she didn't understand. You saw a human swimming here on the surface of the water. That must be it. You saw the light of the sun. Then they crossed in front of the sun, but to you, looking up here from under the water, it must have looked like they touched the sun. Look up into the sky now, Maggie said, as she tilted her head upwards. In the daytime, the sun sits behind those big white puffy clouds way up above us. On a good day, I can fly up and touch the clouds, but when I get up there, there's nothing to touch that has any kind of texture or feeling. It's just air that is made up of different things and compressed water that floats in these different patterns and strands. Learning about clouds and rain took me a long time to understand because it's so different to what I've known as a bird flying in the air and landing on the ground or on top of the ocean. She said as slowly and articulately as she could. You've used all these terms that I don't know. Clouds, human, bird, fish, rain, flying, swimming. You are incredibly wise and knowledgeable. I want to know and understand life like you do, I said with joy and excitement. Maggie knew things that our oldest and wisest teachers either didn't know or wouldn't teach us. Why was this whole world up here kept hidden from us? What was up here that we couldn't discover? Why were we so strictly instructed not to travel up this far above our home and pathway? Would we be in danger? like we were told we would be if we went down into the darkness? That's a lot. I've never considered what a fish does and doesn't know. Maybe that's why some of your kind swims up here to the surface to be caught by fishermen or other predators, and some don't. I've not seen a fish like you before. What are you called? Maggie asked me. I knew my name. Other than that, I only knew my family name. We usually move about in a caravan of others like us. Some are our size and some are smaller beings, similar in shape and design as me. They call us Mola. I thought we were all Mola. My family name is Masturas. I'm a Mola of the Aconocladus family. My name is Peter, I replied. Never heard of that. You are an elusive fish, aren't you, Peter? Maggie asked. Yeah, I guess so, I replied. I've never met or talked with a fish of your size before. You must be as long as a small fishing boat, like 8 or 10 feet long, Maggie said with gleeful excitement. I had no idea what she meant. What is a fishing boat? And what does 10 feet mean? But instead of asking for clarification, I just played along. Yep, that's about right, I replied. We talked for more time than I was aware of. It was so easy to talk with her. She asked about life in my world, or under the sea, as she called it. I told her what I knew. I learned from her that creatures above my world call us fish, and water is what I live in. I didn't know my world was made of this substance called water. It had always just been the world I knew. She told me there's another place where creatures live called land. They look completely different than we do. I've never seen or heard of this place. She taught me about humans, these mystical looking beings that I had apparently glimpsed earlier in the day. Maggie said fish fear humans because they capture and kill us water dwellers. Yet some humans also fear us, or at least the big fish like me. Interesting. We can fear what we don't know or understand. It's true for all creatures. But there's another option for us. We can be curious and venture out of our regular realms to explore and discover a whole new world. I like this discovery adventure. It's fun and exciting. I think I'll do more of this exploration. Who knows what I will find from here? A new beginning. Now, here's the epilogue. This story, is the story for all of us on our spiritual and personal growth journey. Metaphorically, we don't know what we don't know. Like Peter, we don't know that we're more than just a physical body, moving about every day, doing what our teachers and family and culture and society have conditioned us to do. We don't know that there's a whole world we can discover that's outside of our five senses. We don't know that when we allow ourselves to be a little curious about life and about areas that we haven't ventured into before, that we can discover a whole new world that's more vast and beautiful than we imagined before. There are multiple areas of application for this story, including entrepreneurial business beyond the traditional 9 to 5 dynamic, spirituality beyond religious dogma, finding yourself and your calling/purpose beyond what others have conditioned you to believe or adhere to. What led Peter to discover this whole new world? He noticed something that sparked a question in his mind. Is there more to life than what I see every day? Most of us spend a considerable portion of our lives following the herd, or doing what everyone else is doing, aka trying to fit in. It's safe here because everyone is doing the same things. But our hearts and our souls are curious and are also driven by exploration of the unknown. When Peter looked up and saw what he thought was something touching the sun, it sparked a curiosity in him that he hadn't felt before. Has that happened to you? What do you do when you get curious? Or, when was the last time you allowed yourself to be curious about something you haven't considered before? Allow this story to spark some curiosity within you. Because we're beginning our adventure through the resplendent window by venturing into a new realm and dimension of consciousness that's beyond the normal perspective. This story invites you into the journey of the heart and the soul. And we begin in the ocean for a reason, because we don't know what we don't know. Above us, the infinite heavenly realm, is where imagination and divine power creates whole new worlds. And down below, where Peter called the eternal darkness, is the mysterious unknown where the heart longs to venture. Now, I am going to pause here and say, if you want this story, it's inside this book. Actually, you can get a free ebook copy of We Don't Know What We Don't Know by going to the free resources tab at growthfarming.com. I think it's growthfarming.com/free stuff or something like that. But check out free resources. The We Don't Know What We Don't Know story is there. Now, the entire anthology is available on Amazon.com, and you can click the link below to purchase it for yourself. You'll see here, though, this version is autographed. And what I do with my autographed copies is I write a personal note to the person that I've written the note for, just for them. And if you provide some insights, I can do that for you. But that way I put your name on it and I write a little note, and it's not just my John Hancock on there that makes this a special book for you. If you want an autographed copy, while supplies are here, you can send me an email, dgrant@dgrantsmith.com. You can also Venmo me. I put that in the link below. And if you want to support my writing and my work, you can send me a Venmo that way too. I appreciate you. Thank you very much.